Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream for May 28th, 2012. Let me mute that. Forgot to take care of a little audio on my end. There's always something I miss, always something. My name is Chuck Tomasi. I said this is May 28th, 2020. And happy Thursday to you, wherever you are and whenever you are. Thank you for watching. I am a senior developer evangelist here at ServiceNow, and looks like my prayers have been answered. YouTube is working, and thank you for joining me. It was looking a little sketchy when I had the broadcast software up. It was saying, I'm having a problem connecting, but that stuff is likely to happen. Good morning, Sri, Swapnil, Drew, Dave, everybody checking in. It is wonderful to see you. Hope everybody is enjoying the content for Knowledge 2020 Digital Experience. I will get to that in just a minute. Today's topic, I'm wearing orange. It's going to be a code decoded. We're going to be doing some script, and that means roll up the sleeves and have some fun. Okay? You can find this information on YouTube. You're probably watching this on YouTube. The people I called out definitely are. They know to go and hit that subscribe and notifications and like and comment, you know, the usual YouTube stuff. You've been doing this for a while. It's only been around since, what, 2004, 2003? I don't know. YouTube's pretty old, and so am I. So let's, you know what to do. There's the URL you see right there. So take a look, write it down, screenshot, head over there if you haven't already. You may have just randomly come up with this on your phone. Thank you for finding it. If you're looking for something on ServiceNow Condition Fields, this is the place. We also offer this on Twitch. Oh, forgot to mention, if you do get this on your mobile device, you subscribe and whatnot, you will get an alert that looks much like that. And it says, hey, there's the one that just came in from Twitch while we were talking. So they know we're out there, and this pre-roll just kind of gives you a minute or two to join while I talk about all the cool stuff that's happening out there. So YouTube, Twitch, it happens. I mentioned Knowledge 2020 Digital Experience. It's still going on. This is week 4. And there's 6 weeks. There's still 2 more weeks to go. We've got our keynote with CJ, and CJ Desai is our chief, what is he these days? Chief Product Officer. And Bill McDermott, our CEO, will be giving his keynote. This week was the customer success keynote. Wonderful stuff. A lot of great customer input. It's fun seeing some of your faces on here on the keynotes and the sessions and the workshops. Thank you. This wouldn't be a success without you, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I know that I don't have time to sit down and watch everything live as it happens, as it rolls, but you can always go back to the scheduler. There's an on-demand section. If you want to see the ServiceNow karaoke app, look for Hack Snack. I believe it's 4822. Just in the search bar, type in Hack Snack, HACKSNACK, and it's one of those. It'll say ServiceNow karaoke or something. Maybe you could just search for karaoke. I don't know. There's probably only one karaoke session in the whole scheduler. A little video I put together about the app that I built, and am still building. I've been working on a lot of things and finding some new content for this show. So I came across something about objects yesterday that I learned and discovered something new in Service Portal. So it's a wonderful experience to be able to share this with you. I think the content is getting in the pipeline faster than I can spit it out. So twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, I will be here sharing that information with you, whether it's about coding or a specific topic. I want to put tools in your toolbox, give you the thought process, the engineering, to make you a more effective ServiceNow developer and administrator. Good morning to John and Steve. Steve, you made it. I made it all the way to Stockholm on Tuesday. Not really, but it was a virtual developer meetup. Which reminds me, if you are interested, head over to developer.servicenow.com, and under Connect, we have events and meetups, and meetup.com organizes all that stuff. Lots of great, in fact, let's put the developer notice up there first. Developer portal looks like that before you log in. developer.servicenow.com, and you can find more about the meetups over at meetup.com/pro/ServiceNow Dev Program. I know that's a long URL. You might want to screenshot that one. So take a look, get in there, join up with people. You don't even have to be in the local area because everything's virtual these days thanks to the recent situation. You know, it's been going on for the last few months. Sad as it is, it's giving us some new opportunities. Like me going and listening to Swedish for a couple hours on GitHub. Great slides. Couldn't understand hardly any words except ServiceNow and source control and branch, but there it is. We've got the pictures made up for the 1,000 words that I missed. So thank you very much. That has been fun. Let's get back to the community. I think, we will be doing some scripting today. So if you want to know more about scripting, just a quick reminder that I do have a scripting course available, totally free. It's available on the developer channel. But if you follow that bit.ly link there, sn-learn-js, you can go all the way from, hey, I don't know anything about anything, to comfortable, maybe proficient might be too strong of a word, but it's a great setup for taking the scripting course online, virtually, maybe someday back in instructor-led. Check it out. Go look. It's also a great reference if you go, oh, what was that thing on objects or passing functions? This will help understand some of what we're talking about today. I will try to slow it down so that we don't go too fast. Hashtag now20. Thanks, Drew. Love it. The other thing is the code that I shared today will be available on GitHub that you see over there. bit.ly/sn-cls stands for Community Livestream. Like a lot of things in ServiceNow, I'm not very original at naming things. Community Livestream seems pretty self-explanatory. It's live. It's happening now, if you're watching this live, 1 p.m. UTC on Mondays and Thursdays, as I mentioned. All right. That, I believe, is it for the setup. Let's get into the meat of this thing for today's situation. I am going to pop that up and go to my developer instance. Last episode, we looked at Flow Designer decision tables and how they tied in with the make a decision action under the logic. Go back and watch that one. It's turning out to be hugely popular. Thank you very much. And this is sort of a precursor. This is what we did before we had Flow Designer, before we had decision tables. It's still around, and I still use it quite a bit. It gives you some additional flexibility. Granted, it comes with a little bit of scripting complexity, and I'll get into that. So I want to just quickly cover, we've got condition fields, which allow you to put condition fields. You've seen them before. You've seen them in codeless business rules. You've seen them in UI policies. You've seen them in every list filter where you start to build out active is true, date is at or after today, and you can build out these conditions. You can put those into your own tables. They're very powerful, very flexible. You can either associate them with a table field, or you can make it statically linked to a specific table, and I'll get into that in a little bit. If it sounds a lot like, hey, I'm making some decision records that something is going to go and evaluate, sounds a lot like the decision tables, yes, it is. And now that we have the decision table API in Orlando, they're getting even closer because you can access those decision tables from script. Well, this is what we did beforehand. So why would you use one over the other? I'm still looking for a use case to say this is better for this and this is better for that. But obviously, Flow needs a decision table. You can't use condition fields on any old random table in Flow. So if you have to use Flow, you have to use decision tables. If you have to use script, this may be an option. Now, what I'm going to show you does not require a decision table. An answer table, like a decision table would. When you set up a decision table, you have to have an answer. Now, it could be an existing table, could be something you create, but every decision in that decision record has to point to an answer, whether it's an incident, whether it's a template, whether it's a knowledge base article, whether it's something you created in an answer table of your own, like I did on the Flow table on the last video. Check that out and there's differences that you want to be aware of, and some of this may drive you to one or the other. So let's get into what I am going to build today. I'm going to start in Studio, which just happens to be here. I'm going to refresh the screen just one more time, make sure I haven't been talking too long that I got logged out. That happens. Usually on my personal developer instance, I set the glide.ui.session_timeout to 1440. That's the number of minutes in a day. So if I'm not using this for a day, it will log me out. 30 minutes is the default. Don't do that on your production instance unless you have special permission. Okay. A lot of confusion in none in choice type. Sekar, I may be looking at that in just a little bit, but let's continue on with what I plan to do, and then maybe I can come back to that answer in a little bit. So let's go. This is Studio, and I am picking on my favorite community live stream application, simply called CLS 323, which tells me it was built on March 23rd, so I don't run into any scoping conflicts. And I've got my tables. I have an employee table, I have a band. Last time we used the employee and made an answer table called employee band. We're going to take a little different approach this time, and I'm going to make a new table of rules. Okay, this is kind of my own decision table. So let's start out by going data model, table, and I'm just going to click it since I can't see the create button and don't want to make my font smaller. Good old table creator, not extended from anything. I am, for lack of imagination, going to call it rule. Okay, and it calls it 66, not rules, remember? Don't make plural tables, you'll hate yourself later. And it's already going to make it plural anyway. So let's add it to the menu CLS, just so it lives somewhere for whatever reason. This app was created in Guided App Creator. It's making a new role, it's making some new ACLs, and it's making a new menu for every table. I don't need a new menu for every table. Okay? Couple of things I want to add to this. First, let's give this rule a name. You need something friendly that people can see, especially if it's in a reference field. So let's make that display true. I'm going to just quickly flesh out this table. Let's make it active, since just about every new table I have has an active field for reference qualifiers, for filters, for deprecating data later that you don't need. The idea behind decision tables, the idea behind this rule table, behind this filtering, making condition fields, is to make your application, I should have said this right up front, so listen closely, to make your application more data driven. Reduce maintenance for you when business rules change. I mean, I say business rules in a generic sense, not in the technical sense of the business rules, but when business logic, when requirements change, and the people up above you who are, or the out in the business are making these requirements and say, we no longer want red, we want green. We no longer want 100,000, we want 120,000. They're changing these rules. You don't have to come back to some flow. You don't have to come back to some script and change that logic. That would be painful. Look for those observations in your requirements to say, this may be a good place to move the rules into something we can maintain quickly and easily without script, without going back to dev. Delegate it to somebody else who has access to this rules table that you see behind me. Let's hand this off and make your job easier. Aren't we all developers and lazy at heart? I mean, efficient and right? You want your future life to be better than your previous life, which is, let's make this easy to maintain. Okay, let's keep going. We've got an active field that defaults to true. Order. We want to evaluate these in some sort of order. Usually, doesn't have to be. It could come up random if you like, but I am going to order these. And let's start with a default value of 100, just for fun. You don't have to have a default value. Now, here's the two key fields that make this whole thing go. Table, again, like business rules, like UI actions. You pick that table, and then you see the condition field. It populates full of fields. It's really cool. So this is a field type called table name. Available to you. I did nothing to modify this. It's available here at the picker. Don't know if it's available in Guided App Creator out of the box. I think they filter those fields down to be a little more user-friendly, no-code friendly, whatever you want to call it, line of business. The second one is condition. Okay, sometimes it's called filter. Please don't call it query. You can run into problems if you call your field query, because you will now have a field query, and if you reference the table query, it will get confused with the field query. Notice there's a method called query when you're doing a glide record query. Okay. When you have a field called query, you have to use a method called underscore query. So I just try and stay away from keywords when I'm naming fields. I ran into this when I called a field event one time. Event, next, query. Just, if you're aware of the basic methods on glide record or the objects in the system, like action, current, previous, event, mail, don't call your fields that, okay? Now, some may argue, this is a good time to put U underscore in here. You may do that. You can choose to do that. If that's your standard, that's fine. I've gotten accustomed to scoped apps where you don't have to, and then things like the add active query method works fine on a field called active, but I'll get into that in a little bit. The field type on this is conditions. Okay, that's where it's going to give you the words that spell out be active is true. If you use a condition string, that's what shows up above a UI action. I don't think I have a UI action in this application. I do. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Where would you see a condition string? It is like a one-line script. It has to evaluate to true. It doesn't have a return. It doesn't have an answer. But this is a condition string. In fact, if I look at this and say show condition, this is a condition string field. But if I look at, I don't know if I have any UI policies. No, I have a client script. Maybe I have a business rule? No, don't have one that works on there, but I could create one real fast. The condition field is going to be very obvious when you see it. So make sure you pick conditions, not condition string, and that is our table. Okay, very simple. I can add other things if I want, but this is what's going to drive the logic. I'm making rules. Let's go take a quick refresh on our app. And it said refuse to connect. That's nice. Did it refresh this at least? It did. CLS rules. Whew. Got lucky out of that one. And I have name, active, condition, order. Now, let's take a look at the new. Create this. Actually, the layout on this isn't too bad, but I'm going to just jigger it around a little bit. And I don't need the order to be in a wide field format. So let's put that under there. Table, maybe, you know what? That would actually look better as a shorter field. So there, nice and balanced. Condition can be long because they do get long. Close that, fix that, reload that. Okay, I like Form Designer. The more I use Form Designer, the more I like it. So let's call this one active users. I'm going to save it first, just to show you something. I have a list of tables, and if I look for the sysuser table, all of our good tricks work here too. So I can do that square bracket thing to find sysuser fast. But notice the condition field did not jump up and say, here's the user fields, because condition needs to depend on table. You got to do one more thing in the dictionary here. Let's go back to Studio. And in my condition field, after I create my table, I go to the dictionary entry for condition and click advanced right down here. You know I had a thing. There. Advanced. Advanced. Try that one more time. Advanced. And it shows a few more fields, like attributes. We will get to attributes in a minute, one thing at a time. First, let's do the dependent field. Click dependent, and it says which table, or excuse me, which field in this table is this dependent on? You've seen dependent fields before if you've ever used assign to and assignment group. Assign to is dependent on assignment group. What was another one? There was like subcategory is dependent on category, that kind of thing. So let's make it dependent on the table, and just by making that connection, we are going to improve the functionality of this by 1000%. Reload this, And now it says, oh, that's the sysuser table. Let me go fetch the fields for that. And I can say active is true. That is a rule. That is a condition field on there. Let's do another one. For example, P1 active incidents. You can make these up till your face turns blue, okay? Now this is widely dynamic with any table, any condition. So let's go, incident is the table. That incident brings up the fields, just like you. This is like one of those, wow, this is cool. I can do what comes out of the box, right? You kind of feel like you broke through a little secret wall here. And I can say active is true. And priority, you get the idea. You've made filters before, right? Lots of times. Nothing magical here. For whatever reason, I always think of the old iTunes Smart Playlist when I do this. Let's make this one 200. We want to evaluate it at a different order. You can make some of these fields mandatory. Obviously, I didn't do any of that. I didn't put any ACLs on any of this yet. So you get the idea. Now notice that the condition in here looks like an encoded query string. You may want this. I don't. Okay. There's also a couple other little tricks I want to show you about the condition field. Remember how I said about the attributes? There are some attributes. You may have noticed, hey, sometimes when I look at a condition field, it shows the number of records that match this condition. Yes, we can do that. Sometimes, there's lots of cool things that you can do with this. Two that I do almost immediately are, go back to our dictionary entry, down here in the attributes, I can click new, and the attribute I want is show record count. Come on. It's not going to do it for me. This is one of the things that will bug me. I pull this up and look for show condition count. Sorry, got to get the name right. Show condition count and make that true. The other one that is very extremely mostly useful, how's that for a sentence, is readable. Readable is what makes it show up on a list in Readable. And I have been trying to get our developers to adopt that practice, because so many times, especially in the mobile world, I see these conditions on a list and go, I'm okay trying to interpret an encoded query string, but I don't think every average person or non-veteran of 12 years is good at that. So let's do that. Now, if I reload the form, watch what happens. It goes out and says, aha, 613 records. Nice thing about that link, and you know it, you click it, it brings up those 613. And if you change the condition, you can hit the refresh. That is the oldest, saddest looking 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 icon I've ever seen. There's still a few of them that hang around. You want to see another old legacy page? This is fun. Where was it? Was it export? Was it export PDF? No. It was one of these in here. No, I can't remember. It was something in here that you could print. Maybe it was export PDF. And it had the old big green arrow. No, that wasn't it. I'll have to find it. It was something like print. Show printable version or something of this page. Somebody's going to point it out to me. Anyway, sidetrack. Okay, so we've got a little more readability on there. And if you look at the list of rules, now it says active equals true, and priority equals 1. Much easier to read, okay, than an encoded query string. So think about those two attributes if you're doing this. The third one, and I'm pulling these right out of the docs. You don't have to be a good memory person. The docs for dictionary attributes. Down here, if you want to find them, they are readable. Readable, true, false. Any condition field causes it to be human readable. Very nice. There's another one down here that I want to talk about. I don't know if I'll have time to demonstrate it, but it is static dependent. There it is. Name of table. So, in fact, let me demonstrate this real quick. Right now, if you look at any of these records, I pick a table, then I pick fields. You may have situations where your rules are always going to pick on one table. Let's say, for example, active users wasn't my table. I'm making something around incident management or change management, and my change management is pulling from a table of templates that I made, whatever. You make up your own condition. But if it's always on the same table, let's say this rule table is dedicated for incident management rules. It's always going to point to the incident table. I don't want to burden the person or cause a possible mistake by them picking the wrong table. Okay, yeah, you could probably say default value equals incident and hide the field. That's messy. There's a better way. Okay, if I didn't have a table field, and I'm going to assume I don't for this moment, I will hide it for you just for the sake of demonstration to show that I'm not picking it, I'm not doing anything special. Save that. Now, without a table, I can't do this. So how do I fix that? How do I attach that directly to the incident table? Well, that's another attribute on my condition field called static dependent. Static. Okay, that reference picker is really annoying. And this may be a good demonstration for something else. Let's contains dependent. Nope. Okay, guess what? Not all the attribute choices are in this related list pick list. So, boo-hoo. What do you do in that case? Well, look up here. This is kept in sync with the attributes related list. Kind of cool. Which means, hey, I just read this attribute called static dependent equals some table name. And when I save that record, watch what happens. It's not that magic, really. It puts static dependent down here. If I couldn't choose it from the table, I could always type it in myself in the attributes field. I think that's why the attributes field still exists, that it's not related list only, because all the options aren't in the related list. So that's just my thought. Steve says he prefers the encoded query. God bless you, my son. Go forth and have fun. Encoded queries are nice because you can just copy and paste them into other places in your script, but doesn't have to be that way. If you have humans involved, consider readable. Okay, now that we have that, let's go back to this table and notice that I now get incident fields. And if I create a new record, I get incident fields. I have no choice. It's a static dependent as opposed to the dictionary dependent. That attribute just overrode my dependent dictionary definition. Didn't realize that was going to happen. Generally, you don't want both. Okay. Typically, you wouldn't even have a table field if you knew your condition field was always going to point at the static table. You don't need a table field unless you're using it for something else. So don't get these two confused. I should have detached them, made it non-dependent. Okay, so that is that. Let's continue going along with our exercise. Let's do active P2 incidents and make a couple new conditions. Active is true and priority. And yes, you can dot walk on all of this stuff if you wish. Submit. Let's create one more that says software, active software incidents. And we will count these up. So active is true and category is software. You make up your own. If I do that, it says, congratulations, 8 records match. I get some good stuff out of here. Let's take one of these. I'm going to use it as a sample. It's an active. I'm going to copy the sys out of here, which may actually be the same sys. Now it's time to get down to the script. How is it, if you look at this, okay, this says, I'm going to write a condition that gets all of the records out of this table. We're doing the reverse. We have a record and we want to see which one of these rules it matches. Okay, that's different. Why would you want to do that? Because if one of these rules matches, you could then trigger some action. Maybe it's a flow. Maybe it's a workflow. Maybe it's some script that you write. Whatever you got, you want to see, does it hit one or more of these? Maybe another field that I didn't think about before doing this is stop execution. If these are happening in an order, do you want to hit all rules or do you want to hit the first rule and stop? Okay, kind of like inbound email actions, kind of like a lot of other things where you could go, hey, I've got multiple matches. Do you want to do all the multiple matches? It might be active software, but it might be active P1. Ooh, think about that. What do you want? Do you want all the rules? Because different rules may trigger different actions. Different rules may bring in different records from a template rule. And think about where you might use these and how you want it to behave and whether or not you want that. I'm not going to put that in, but I will show you roughly where to put it in. Let's go to scripts background, and I'm going to do the cooking show thing, and I have a script already built here. So I'm doing the old faux current idea where I have an object called current because this script could later be put into a UI action or a business rule. I will, try that again, highlight just that, undo that. It ended with 6A7BC. I think that's the same record. I'm going to just pick the same one. I did. Okay, lucky me. Like winning the lottery. So I set up a current object so that I can do this part that looks like a UI action or a business rule or whatever to see which rules match. How do we do this? We go through the rule table. I am looking for active rules. This should look pretty straightforward to anybody who's done a glide record query before. This is our NoSQL SQL stuff. I am checking for any condition that's not empty. If it's empty, it's not a condition in my opinion. Why would you want a condition that matches all records? You can just go get those yourself. Okay. Because I have a table field, I don't need to look and say, here's an incident. Does it match a sysuser rule? Why? Just look for the ones that are on the incident table. So in this case, I'm going to look for rules that are on the incident table, and the table is whatever my current record is. So if it's on the incident table, I'm going to look for all the incident rules. Remember I had one that was sysuser? Okay, it'll skip over that one. I'm going to put them in an order, and I'm just going to get all the rules that apply here. I might have 700 rules, but only 500 of them are active and only 20 of them are on the incident table. You get the idea. I'm not getting all 700 of those and then doing if in my while loop. That's the slow way. Let the database do a lot of the work for you. Okay, for every record that I find, I'm going to dump out the condition. Okay. That will be an encoded query string just to show here's what I'm looking for. Normally I wouldn't have the GS infos all over the place. This is for your benefit. Here is where the comparison checks. This is the secret sauce that makes this all happen. GlideFilter. It has one method. It's called checkRecord. This is all this does. And who knows, this might be what's going on behind the scenes on the decision tables. I don't know, never asked. But it takes a glide record, which is going to be our current, and the string filter, the condition from the rule record. And it says, does this record match this rule in some way, shape, or form? Is the priority 1? Is it active, true? And if it does, it returns a Boolean. Match, true or false. So if it matched, I would do something important here, and I will print out my magic current display value and which rule matched it, the name of the rule. Let's try it out. Let's go to scripts background. There it is. I think I can make that a little bigger for you. Maybe even a little bigger. Sure, that'll work. Paste that in, run that script, and it says, hey, guess what? Here's the condition I'm looking for. Active equals true, priority equals 1. It did, in fact, match this incident, which matched the rule P1 active incidents. Now, I thought I had one called software category. Let's find out active software incidents. Active is true, category is software. We probably should have matched that to like record 300. So that happens in some other order. And 8 records match. Wasn't 9005 one of them? It was. Okay, so why didn't that rule catch? I'm scratching my head right now, wondering why. Let's try this again. It's getting all the rules. It's true. It's not negative. Oh, I know why. Right there. When I made a static dependent, I said, I don't need the table field. Therefore, it's not set on this record. It says, that rule doesn't match the incident table. So that's my fault. Let's go back and put that in. Let's get rid of our static dependent on the dictionary. So somewhere in Studio, found it. I have my condition field. Let's get rid of the static dependent so that my table field comes back and I can set that. Update that. Wait for it. Go back in here. Refresh that. I know there's a better way to refresh it, but this is more fun. And I got to put the table field back on here. Configure form design. We'll do it with form design this time. I alternated. Table can go right back where table was so that we can set the table value so that the condition matches. That was a good exercise. You learn things when things don't work. And then I make videos out of them. Okay, it did not match because it wasn't true. It was that wasn't the right table. So if I set this to incident, and it even remembered the condition, that never went away. It just couldn't render it because I didn't have a table now that this is a true dependent. Save that, and if I run my rule now, it should match two rules. Haha, look. It got the first rule called P1 active incidents. It also got another rule called active software incidents. You may be triggering mail conditions. You may be whatever you want rather than just this GS info from here. Okay. Check it out. See what happens. It did not match. What was it? There was a third one in there for incident? Maybe there wasn't. Let's go see. I have two incident tables. It's not really proving anything at this point. Oh, active P2 incidents also didn't have a table. Let's go and look. I have 3 incident rules now. Let's make this order 5,000, 500, whatever. And run our script one more time. Now that we have 3 rules on the incident table, for sure, we will get, here's our first condition. Is it a P1 active? Yes. Okay, you matched. Is it a active category? Yes. Okay, you matched. Is it an active P2? Well, obviously it can't be a P1 and a P2 at the same time, so this is true. It is false. So what can you do with that? A whole lot. As I mentioned, you can set up rules either the way I did with a dynamic table field that you can then create any rule on any table, and you may want that for your use case, or you can set up with a static dependent field where everybody's pointing their rules at one table. Okay. If you do a static dependent, then you want to modify this script to take out this line. In fact, I'll help you and say, don't use the table field here if you use static dependent. Otherwise, you're not going to get a whole lot of matches because the table field won't exist and it probably won't be set. Well, if it doesn't exist, it won't be set. So we'll go with that. Hope that makes sense. This is really powerful stuff for making your applications data-driven. Now, somebody comes back later and says, oh, I want all the active P1 incidents that were open in the last week. Great. Here's P1 incidents. Add your condition and you go home. It's a nice, easy evening for you. And opened, assuming you can type better than I can, at or after last 7 days, or last week, or whatever you want. You know how to do this. Okay, maybe it's January 1st of this year. There's my new rule. None of the script changes, none of the logic changes, but the results people get will change. Very important. I'm just thinking if you could tie this in with a scripted table so that your results end up, ooh, hey, that would be fun. I wonder if you could put these two together. Remember scripted table, remote tables that I did a couple episodes back? See if you can think of a use case to put those two together so you don't need to store the data, but you could make these dynamic filters on records that come out. The scripted table would be a lot easier. It wouldn't have as much logic in the script. It would just go through, does it match this rule? I'm going to build a table for that. Does it match this rule? Build a table for that. And then display it as a regular, oh, I'm not sure how I would implement the filter on that, but that would be really wicked fun. Okay. This is one of my favorite features. When I discovered this, it was a game changer. In 2011, 2012, whatever it was, doing an implementation for a large pharmaceutical. They wanted change management, and they said, we want some templates. So if it's a server upgrade, or if it's a software upgrade, a server install, they had these different packages of tasks that they just wanted to define or redefine and then glue them on, copy them over to the change record. So when you picked a template and said go, it would say, all right, it wasn't so much a reference field, but it was rules to say, which ones of these do you need to choose? And then go find that. Is this change record in the hardware category? Is this change record assigned to this group? Is this change record? Whatever rules they wanted would then define which template they went and got and attached. Okay? And these were pretty complex conditions too. Once that was implemented with this glide filter thing and a rule table, never looked back. They have a rule, they have a set of rules, they had some template change records, they had some template change tasks. So they said, go find the change record that matches this condition in the templates and get its tasks. Now they can maintain whatever template tasks, whatever conditions they want. 8 years later, still running, never had to do any maintenance on it because it's that flexible. So think about that. It lightens the burden of maintenance for you later. And conditions are easy for somebody else to decide and build, so you can delegate those. The rules table will have its own ACLs, so you can do what you want there. That's pretty much it for today. I am going to jump back up here. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, like if you find something useful in here and share it with other people. I appreciate all those people that are going out on LinkedIn and saying, hey, Chuck's got a new video. Thank you. I will do diligence and share with that as well when you mention me, kind of thing. So until next time, I will be doing something on Monday, which I believe is the 1st of June. Wow, where did May go? And it's still going to be Knowledge 2020 time. I don't have a topic yet for Monday. I will be falling in line. This one did change because the topic I said on the last episode actually did a few weeks earlier. So I don't want to repeat anything that was done in that context. And actually, this was a great follow-on for Flow Designer decision trees and make a decision and decision tables. So these two went together really well. Monday, I will decide a topic. Next Thursday, I'm mentioning this ahead of time because this one's already planned out. Next Thursday, June 4th, I will be reconstructing the loaner request application that I built in 2009, 2010, whatever it was. It's the app that got me the Innovation of the Year award at Knowledge 2020. Still lives on, but I haven't touched it since 2016. It's still available on Share as a scoped app, but I haven't taken advantage of mobile. I haven't taken advantage of Flow Designer. And there are some customers out there with very strict rules that say, thou shalt not download and install anything from Share. How did you build that? So I'm going to be presenting how it was built in a slightly different light of how I would rebuild it today. So I'm not going to do it end to end. That won't happen in an hour, but I will be showing you how I would do a lot of those pieces. I'll do a couple of flows, a couple of reports, I'll get into some mobile. So you'll see some of the new mobile studio things. Lots of stuff in here, and we'll give you good ideas of where we can take this. So lots of stuff. Working on that one. There's still a few things I need to smooth out before I deliver that. But very much looking forward to that one on June 4th, rebuilding the Loaner Request app. You'll get a lot of information out of it, I'm sure. If not, well, share it with somebody who will. Till then, take care, have a great weekend, and be good to each other. Be safe. Bye.